Hi, hello to everyone. This is Tav Shvi, and I've been requested by the guys of TNR's Patreon to do this video about the Octatrack and how is my workflow with this amazing machine. So let's get into it. Okay, so we are here in the job in my job of choice, which is Bitwig, and I have sampled some tracks that I was looking for different sounds and different sound sources that could make me advance in the creation phase that we will have at the Octatrack. So the tracks, the characteristics of the tracks, the main thing of what I was looking for in these samples, it was let's try to have the better sound or the sound that I would like to get to. Let's try to get these sounds as close as possible to the finished product. And so I would listen out to dynamics. I would listen out to EQ and general texture on how these tracks are working. These were the tracks that I sampled. So we have some Skinny Puppy, we have some Daft Punk. Of course, Richie Hawtin's Spastic is a wonderful drum sound source. Uh, I have some Muslim Gauze, more for more of the pads or what I would want to get the pads from. And these were the tracks basically. So the sample process or the sampling was really simple. I didn't want to do it on the Octatrack because I wanted to sample more than the I think it's 64 seconds, I think. Well, it depends on the project size, but the Octatrack inside sampling would only let you sample like 64 steps and a bit more of what is from the tempos from the project's tempo. So 64 steps and a bit more. It's a little bit limited. That's why I'd rather to sample most of the work outside the Octatrack, and I will take these samples and just import them into the Octatrack by a USB cable. As well, I can cut the samples and just put them right into the beginning of the first beat for the samples that are that it's common to use that to do this, which will be, of course, the drum samples. So this is drums. This one, for instance, I guess this one I've warped to the beat, to the grid. I mean, I've warped them so it be in time already. When I export that into the Octatrack, it will be in time. We have this Spastic, some. These are some drums, I think. Let's listen to one of those. So this is what I'm talking about when trying to get as close as possible as the final result. So there we have a nice synth loop that it need no EQ. It doesn't need, I mean, it doesn't need much sound processing because it's already a nice take. And that's what I would look for, not only in tracks and not only in music, but I would look for that in my own recordings, as I would have here. So I did a bunch of recordings and sampled the best bits I found onto these loops. So let me pause this and play this one, which is my modular voice. I sampled my modular voice into Bitwig and just cut the first bit, and I know already what would be the tempo of this recording, so it will help me out further down in the creation process to have this, like, set this up in an audio editor like this one or in any other digital audio workstation. So I have these takes. I've processed those samples as well because I wanted to have not only a raw take, but I would like to have some more sample or just these samples. I would like to have more process on it, maybe reverb, delays, flangers, all kinds of stuff that could make the sound source as interesting as possible. And the sample workflow is paramount to have the better samples or the most interesting samples before you even start to build a track. It's like it is night and day difference when on which samples you use. It makes the whole difference. So these are the process ones. So it's mostly reverb. Some of them have automations going in and out. Some of them they will have at some point more reverb or less reverb. All of these changes will be. I will leverage all these changes for my music making phase, and at the end, and then I wanted to have some specific sounds that I didn't find in these tracks, and some sounds that I didn't find on I didn't craft on my modular. So I just wanted to have these raw samples, 2 kicks, 3 hi-hats, and 2 claps. That's basically it, no process on it, because these samples are already, I think they are already processed in a way that I like it. Yeah, these are mostly raw samples that were recorded from a analog rhythm, which is a drum machine you might know. So these samples, what I would do is take all of the samples and export or import them into the correct Octatrack sample or audio file requirements, which are 44.1 kilohertz and 24-bit depth. The Octatrack works with these files, and it will you won't have any issue of strange sounds or strange behavior coming from the Octatrack working on samples that are not within those specifications. So yeah, whatever is your DAW, you will have to export them in 44.1 and 24-bit depth or 16-bit depth. The Octatrack will handle both. And that's basically it for now. And now we're going to go to the Octatrack after I exported these tracks and put them on folders, all nice and organized. Put them into folders, and I will put them in the Octatrack to start working on our techno beat. So let's go there to the Octatrack and continue with our process. Okay, so here we are at our Octatrack where I've loaded the samples that we had on Bitwig. So I basically, via the USB cable, loaded those samples within folders that we can locate those here. Well, it depends on the how did you how on what folder you stored the samples, but I tried to keep it organized. So I went to the folder of the project and put my folders of samples there. So I will hit two times, well, whatever track. It could be whatever track. And the first slot is, and the slots are empty. I will go this with my arrow key, and you will see something similar like this. So I have drum samples, the raw takes, but with effects. So I just put affected takes, raw takes, and sampled. So let me go over drum sample, left, and there we go. Clap, both claps, the hi-hats, and the kick. So I will load my kick, my first kick, just to have a backbeat to where we can like have a sense of rhythm for the starters. So let's hit yes. Let's see what this kicks is all about. I as well, before shooting the video, I took the time to go to each sample, hit the audio editor button, which is this AED button, and go to the attributes and the file as well. So I hit the attributes, check the volume, loop mode, stretch mode, what would be the tempo, and well, quantize triggered is a completely different topic. It's a bit, it's not our concern for this specific video, but I've checked all the attributes for the samples and just hit save sample settings. Sometimes it will appear this if the sample already has some saved in it, and just hit yes. And now we have loaded on track 1. Remember, this is a static machine, and on this static machine, which is the ones that read samples from the SD card that we have inside the Octatrack, I have this kick, and it sounds like this, function and yes. So I will go ahead and load. While I will produce the track, I will load all of the samples here. For instance, this one just remains from the experiments, the early experiments. I can just hit shift and clear, and we'll have a clear sample slots to load samples in. Okay, so let's put our kick. Just hit the record button to enable the sequencer or the grid within these buttons, and just hit like the simple. We are not going to recreate the wheel 4x4 kick, and it sounds like this. Okay, so I will start to describe each sound, and that's my way of approaching sampling, and that's my way of approaching the creation of a track, only using sampling. So right from the beginning, I noticed that this kick has a long tail. It's just it just fills this whole space, each kick. So for this, I want my kick a little bit shorter, not because of any technique, not because of any book, it's just because I want. Because maybe I will have a bass or a sub bass that could fill up all those parts after. So I know I would want my kick just a bit constrained. So let's see if I go to hold. So the hold is the time this sound will hold. So let's see, it hold it for just two steps, And the release, of course, I would have to dial it back so it doesn't keep ringing the sample, because this it won't do any effect if I leave the release knob like this. So I will have to put it this way. It could be whatever number we just hear. There you got the difference. It's way different. It's more control. Sometimes you will hear a click, maybe if you put the release too short or too quick. So if, as this has a lot of sub bass, it will cut itself, and a click might pop up. So we want to be aware of that click and just dial it back a little bit. Okay, so we have our kick. It sounds nice. It's not a super low kick. The kick, it has information on the low, but not the sub bass. It's just a low kick, nice classic 909 style kick. The kick has as well a tiny click for a top transient. So I will try to distort it a bit just to make this kick a little bit more rounded, you know. So let's put distortion here. Just a tiny amount of distortion will go a long way for controlling that initial peak, because it's too clean. It's too clean, and I have to mix while I'm composing, and as I'm not using any plugins, I am not using anything else rather than the samples I will use. We'll have to take care of those, of those little details that will come, and that we'll go through all of them. Okay, so we have the kick. Let's go over and bring a new sample. So no more rhythmic elements. Let's go for one of the samples one. Let's listen. For instance, these ones are so low on volume. Okay, this one is super low on volume. What is this? I can make a loop with this one. So for making a loop, I will want this specific sample. I would like it to loop in sync with the tempo we are doing at this point, which is 138. So I usually, the way I do this is just to put as just the first trigger of the sample. It will trigger the sample. I will check that this time stretch setting is either normal or beat mode. You will check what sounds best for you. But I'll put this and just by ear trying to find the right tempo for this. It sounds like it's now locked into tempo. So let's see what variations we can do to the sound. This sound is the percussive sound that it contains is on the left, and the pad and all the eerie sounds are on kind of on the center and on the right. So you have to look out for all of this difference in sound. We can do something like this, which is on every, I just forget how you say it. We can do something like this, which is within every first beat, on the third beat, and we can maybe try to have our filter to open just on when those samples hit. So I close the filter and use my envelope controls, which is depth and attack and decay, and just open the depth, which will open this filter with each trigger, and let's use the decay just a bit. Let's try to change the pitch of the sample just to hear what it could be. So the pad is making this track go in the direction or in a specific mood. Just these two samples, they just work together to make this track already moved in a specific direction. We have to hear out the consequences of us doing small movements and try to decide if that is what we want, or maybe we want to go in a different direction. I just try to go with the flow. Let's close a little bit. So let me give a little bit more movement to this sequence by hitting, for instance, this trigger, and just on this trigger I will have my depth open a bit more, just a bit more on this trigger, just to see the difference. You will see the difference between these sections and this section. And we have a groove. We have a groove right there. Let's try to pan our sound just a bit to the right, because this sound is on the left. We can do some tricks that are hidden within the audio editor on the flex tracks, not on the static tracks, but on the flex tracks. There is this audio editor that you can low or make it higher in volume, where you can sum the left and the right channels. You can make it mono, but let's not deal with this and with that, and I will just have the balance control just a bit to the right to see how it merges everything together. Yep, at the moment it sounds poor, but it will get its shape. It will get in shape. Let's load a different one. These are pads, I know. Let's try to do a bit of slicing here. So I've loaded this one. Let's go to the audio editor, make it louder because it's really low. I don't know why. This is the 909 Revolution from Daft Punk. So let's put it in beat mode. Let's try to check what is the tempo of this sample. It seems it's quite right already. 136.75. That feels enough just to work with this sample. Let's save sample settings and let's go to the slice mode, and we got some slices here. Let's see what we got. This is because I did this beforehand. So I did the slices, but I didn't haven't saved the tempo change. I didn't have it saved. So hi-hat, kick. Okay, so we just have that kick and that hi-hat. So let's use the hi-hat to make a hi-hat loop. First, I have to go to source, double hit it, and turn on the slice mode. That way this machine will read slices instead of just one single one shot. And I can go down here, put my slices, and for this one I would like it to start on the second slice number 2. And copy, paste, paste, and paste. Rather simple, which we will complicate this a bit more just to have more groove. So let's try to copy this sample, paste it here, and not yet. I can preview the samples by going and hit the number of the trigger we want to preview this sample, and just hit yes. Maybe alter the rate. Let's hear how they sound all together, these forwards and these backwards. I can move it so it plays earlier. Could be nice. Let's try in every hit. Let's try to lower the volume of those reversed hits. Way better. So I like these ones. Copy, paste. I have to be really careful with this second sound, which it is making all the track go a bit bouncy. Maybe I don't want that track to be that bouncy, but we'll take a look at it. Let's get a fourth sample that maybe brings a contrast for against that jumpy and maybe kind of happy beat. Just make it contrast. Let's see what we can use for giving that contrast out. Those are super low samples. Let's try maybe one of the affected tracks. Let's try to use this. Let's see if it has slices or not. I don't know if it has slices. This one has slices, but those slices are not correct. Like they mean nothing at this point. So let me hit yes, and let's go and delete all slices. Yes, and I will start from scratch here. So this is a little bit a tedious process, but with time you will get used to it. So I just hit function and yes, just to hit where I want to hit, where I want to set my first slice, and just go from there. Maybe we can just use this one, and this third sound. So we have slice 1. We have some difference in there. Let me use 3 more. Let's zoom in a bit, because I want to see clearly where I'm putting the end at beginning points. If you see there is a small dot in between the lines, like where the lines cross the audio, and that is because I'm hitting shift, and the machine is locating what is the crossover point or the zero crossing point. so we don't hear any clicks. Yes, and with this other knob, I'm deciding the length of the sample. So we have 6 slices. It sounds pretty low in volume, but we will solve that. Let's pump up the volume a bit on this track. Let's hit double time here. Source again, slice, and I will go to have my triggers to become a sample slicer trigger with this mode. Slices. Maybe I can have a rough idea on how it will go if I play him live. Something like that. Maybe these 2 slices work. So let's record them. Copy and not copy, but arm record button and play. Of course, this is a super cheesy rhythm, but what I will do is just repeat them with different velocities. But I know these 2 slices is the slices I want to use. So maybe copy, load that in volume, paste here. Is just experimentation. Paste, load this one in volume, copy, paste. Let's see. And copy, let's listen to this one, paste. Let's use the filter just to alter them even further. Could be something like that, like the filter is doing this movement. So let me assign an LFO to this filter, and just bear in mind that the LFOs of the Octatrack, most of them, they are already set by for them to go positive and negative. So if I want the LFO to affect the whole filter, the whole frequency range of the filter, I will have to put my filter in the middle so the LFO can go up and down. If I put the filter all the way up, it will go just one direction and it won't go like in the full range. So let me put, we have 127, 64 is usually the middle point for this. I will hit LFO 2 times. The first LFO, I will assign that LFO to my filter, which is that filter width. Is my width? Is it? Yeah, that's my width knob. So width, let's try to set an speed. Let me put this in sync 1, which will sync the first trigger, and the LFO will go in sync. And let's put in some depth and some speed. Let's close the filter just a bit more. Let me try to use a steeper filter, which will be instead of 20, instead of 12 dB, I will use 24 dB, and close that filter just a bit more. I can use some delay on the hi-hat sample. And let's try to play with the pitch of this like semi-bass line we did. Let me try to check what is the bass content on this track. So because I want to put a lower bass line down there, and of course my intention is not this track to be the bass line. It's just a filler. Like I'm trying to get more groove on the whole beat. It has a bit of low energy, so let me open the bass, reduce the width The bass is like, the bass is this part of the filter, this high pass filter. That sounds about right. Okay, so we are halfway through our beat making of techno here in my Octatrack. Let's load our sub bass, and for this, as I always recommend, you will need headphones. You'll need good headphones or good speakers to feel and to hear properly this bass, because low frequencies are, yeah, you know already, low frequencies are a different animal to deal with. So let's try to load. I already know my low sample would be a take I loved, which is this one. This one is already in the correct tempo, which was 137 when I recorded that. And let me put this on the first beat and see how it sounds. Maybe we can change that LFO speed a bit. I like how the LFO makes the filter open just at the moment when it's gonna loop. The bass opens as well, and it begins all over again. So that way, I think I was able to dial back that feeling of being too jumpy. So it just gets a bit more restrained on that feeling, which I kind of 50-50. I like that feeling of jumpiness in the music. Let's try to set a different set of triggers. Let's go for each trigger. Let's see how it sounds, the sub bass with each trigger on each downbeat. Powerful techno right there. This sub bass, it has lots and lots of sub, so that's why this kick, maybe it glue a bit with this sub bass. Let's close the filter for that sub. I love to play with the filter, and I love to bring back just a bit of groove, and you will hear that on my tracks to bring in the groove back, you know. I will record this filter movement hitting record button and play button at the same time. It will record anything you do on the Octatrack. So let's go for it. So what it did, it just created silent triggers where this width is changing position over time. Okay, so before I get carried away by this loop, let's try to use one more of the loops we sample from the tracks. Just bear in mind that there is a high chance that we don't use all of the samples, but I always love to have more options and to have a wide uh, color palette, let's call it that way, so I can grab on the get-go, I can grab all my sounds and not go back to the DAW, losing the momentum of the composition, and maybe lose it all. So let me load on track 6. Let me see. Sampled, and maybe we can use one of these Muslim gauze, which are amazing pads and eerie sounds, and it will just take all of this and bury it deep on deep territories. So let's load this one, and let's go for the audio editor here and pump up the volume just a bit. Hear how nice this pad sounds is. It's amazing. And I can change as well the pitch of this. Let's put 1 and hit yes. Let's use some filter to filter that out. And let's use some distortion as well. We can go nuts on the distortion with this sample. So for now, I will just have my sample of, this specific sample, I'll just have it playing 416 bits, I'm sorry. So it will just reach here and the sample will start again, but I will use some sort of a trick. So this sample will evolve over time in a random manner. So let's hear first how it sounds like that. This is deep as hell. This is pretty deep. Let me try to edit those hi-hats because I loved how they are sounding. And let me copy and paste. Just use a smaller, like just use it shorter, I mean. And volume, maybe as well filter. Let's copy this, paste, and paste. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now let's use my pad sample of Muslim Gauss song and try to make it evolve over time. And the way I will do that is when you heard the sample preview, let's hear it again. Like hit yes. You will hear that there is a voice that it comes up just like here. We can pause that. So that voice, I would love to have that in a random way, in a random manner, where each time the sample will be triggered, it will be from a different point in time. The start point of the sample will be different each time. For this, I will go to where my sample start knob is, which is in the source page. This start knob, I will put it right in the middle, which for the Octatrack is 64, 65 could be. And let's go to the LFO, open the LFO page, and let's choose LFO1 for this, and I can go to sample. This is the source from what the LFO will choose what to affect, and we'll choose start and hit trigger, which will change every time it triggers, but we'll choose hold. Hold, what it means is whatever position the LFO is, it will remain all the same until there is a new trigger. So we hit hold and we hit the random. Let's look for the random wave. There we go. Random wave. The speed, it really doesn't matter at this point since it will just be static. And the depth, I will do lots. Okay, so but we got into trouble here because when the sample this is the sample, this is all the sample, like all of that white with the black wave on it. That's the whole sample, and when it reaches maybe here, that start point, it will just go there and it stop there because the sample just stops there. But to prevent that, what I will use is I will go to attributes and loop mode and just have it in on, or maybe I can experiment and have it on ping pong, which may make it will make it will make the sample go backwards each time it reaches the endpoint. Could be a nice thing to experiment, actually. Let's do that and just here. It sounds amazing. Let's do one more thing with this random LFO experiment, which will be this trigger. I don't want it to be triggered with each time the sequence go over it. So I want it in a random as well, random fashion again. I will hit the trigger, just hit the left arrow, and I will go with 70% chance of it being played. So when it doesn't get played, it will just, the sample will just go and play until it reaches the end, go backwards because of the ping pong loop style we've chosen, and it will do that until a new trigger gets active 70% each of the times it gets there. So it's, yeah, well, it's not rocket science, but it's amazing the ways it can, the way that you can achieve randomness with the Octatrack. Okay, so we are in good shape at this point. I like what I'm hearing, but we still have 2 tracks to go, and maybe we want one of the tracks to be percussive, to maybe on the whole song that we are making out of this. Maybe on the whole song it will just show up later, some minutes later, maybe a different percussive sample, somewhere elements. Remember, we are limited. So it's you gotta have compromises here. Let's put maybe a main element from the takes I got here. So my thinking now, or my way of thinking, would be one main element and one main element as well, but from the things we sampled. Maybe it could be a spastic, could be this synth track I sampled that we heard before. Let's go for track 7 and let's load one of the affected tracks and let's see what do we have. This sounds like right. I kind of not hating on bleeps, but this bleep sounds cool. Lately I've been super picky about bleeps. They're driving me mad. So, but let's see what this has to offer. Maybe later. Let's try it. Why not? Slices. What do we have? No slices. Okay, so delete slices, and let's slice the shit. Let's slice that bleep, and this one. I like this one. I'm slicing the bleep as well because I'm thinking in having it pitched down, so it doesn't sound so bleepy. And with that bit of reverb or delay that got sampled, I like it that way. And the third. We can go on and make all these slices, but it will take ages, and that is part of the preparations of the samples. So let's just use it that way. Source, double hit on source, slice on, and just make a simple game there. Could be like that. So we can have this second one. We can have it on our sequence. Maybe here, just put it the slice number 2. And let's do the same trick we did on track 6 with the Muslim gauze pad. So let's go here and hit right and just have it get played every maybe 6% of the time, maybe 13%. I want it just to be really sparse. I don't want it to be too repetitive. Let's use some reverb on this specific sample. Well, on the whole track, I will have to have the reverb. So let's change FX to dark reverb, which is the best reverb here on the Octatrack. And let's do this, just abuse on the mix, abuse on the time. We will have a nice surprise when we hear that one. It needs more reverb. Pitch, more reverb. Let's go that way. There are now some multiple elements that are changing and are making our track interesting, and it's just out of 16 steps. I'm not even dealing with multiple pages here, which will make it more interesting, and the beat will be just a bit more, maybe like a song. But at this point, it's a excellent starting point for a track. Let me go over this sample again, and let's make that FX, that dark reverb that we have on this slot. And if you can see there, it says mix, but I don't want it to be mix like that dry wet mix. I want it to be a scent. So for that, I will hit 2 times this, and instead of choosing mix, I will choose scent. So that way, the reverb, it wouldn't get caught by this trigger whenever it gets triggered. And just to have it, the reverb to get more sustained, I will have this one to be with more time with the reverb, even though the mix is on 0. It will help sustain the reverb that goes back from here and back around this trigger. There we have it. Okay, let's go for our last track, and let's make it different. Let's go and get one of those sample tracks. Let's use a spastic. Yeah, we all can't miss spastic on this bit because it will be really cool. So let's hit audio editor. Let's go for attributes. Let's pump the volume up and slice, and we have some slices here. So let's try to do some kind of nice groove, but also a lead groove, what I would call a lead groove, which is, it will be a main characteristic of the track without being too buried or too buried down into the track. This thing will scream with the rhythm. I will say this is this track. You know, these two elements are the main elements I want to use. So let's just use it random, and let's change the start point. Double click to source, slice on as well as we've been doing with all the slicing tracks. Let's see how it goes. I love this bit. This too. I just deactivated those by hitting, holding them and hitting no. This is what I'm talking about. This play in between elements. Let's hear it just by itself. And we can play with the groove, like if this is too long and it's leaking over the first beat, I can reduce that. So I will reduce that by holding just by 2.5 beats, and the release time just real short. Let's hear it in context. So um, from this point, we can go and elevate our loop by doing some changes with the pages. So what I mean with that is go ahead and hit shift and scale, and with the page button will be a scale, and not make this pattern 16th, but make it 32 or 64 steps, and that will give us more steps to play with. And so we will have to be careful of these steps. Let's here maybe 64 steps. And for instance, I can change the this, which is one of the main parts. I can change that up at the end. Okay, this didn't copy it over. So what I will have to do is going to project. This is because I have my Octatrack in a way that it doesn't copy over the next pages, but let's change that. Page auto copy, not disable, and let's hope for the best, because now it will copy. So let's hit page. Let's see if it copied. It did. So now we can go to track 8, go to the last 16 steps, or to the last bar, and let's do a change. We could do, let's see, what can we do here? We can do like a snare roll. It's a snare roll with some moving it backwards in time just a bit, just to get some groove. And let's hear it. Okay, this this ended up on the first page. These are some of the things that the Octatrack will give you. It sometimes will give you headaches because you just didn't. I was not careful enough on watching this light, but we can solve that really easily, which will be copy, clear. No, not clear. Just delete them and paste those here. And it sounds amazing. I think it sounds amazing, and I hope you do think that as well. Okay, so that way we've reached the end of the video of this techno sampling tutorial, whatever you want to call it. And I hope you have learned a lot from this. Thanks for staying there all the way through. And yeah, it's been amazing to be part of TNR's Patreon. Let's go out and check all the other amazing content that they've been uploading to their channel, and that should be it. Thanks for staying with me. Goodbye.